Okay, here's our first 5 examples of practicing factoring by grouping. The second group of 5 I'll just have in the filled in notes in the Google Drive. So for the first group here, I could factor out a y, because they have a common base of y, the lower exponent is squared. So I'm going to divide both of these terms by y squared. Divide, so I'm going to keep the base subtract, giving me y, plus y squared divided by y squared is 1. Don't forget, anytime you divide something by itself, it gives you 1. Bring down the sign between the two groups always. Should always have a sign between the two groups. Here is similar to one of the examples from homework, almost exactly. You could factor out a 7 from 7y and 7. So I'm going to divide both of those by 7 and get y plus 7 divided by 7, again, is 1. So again, both of these binomial factors are the same. So that y plus 1 I'm going to write once. Then when I factor the first group by y plus 1, I'm left with the y squared. When I group the second, if I divide the second group by y plus 1, I'm left with that plus 7. So again, the terms in the second factor I found by the two GCFs of each group. That y squared plus 7 that I just highlighted in yellow is the y squared plus 7 in the second factor. The y plus 1 that both groups had as the other factor is what I put in the first parentheses. Again, the order of these two factors don't matter. So you could always put the y squared plus 7 first and then the y plus 1. Next one, you could always pause and try it yourself first if you'd like. I'm going to factor out a 2 from the 2 and the 4. They both have a base of x. The lower exponent is squared. So I'm going to divide them both by 2x squared, giving me x to the first power, because the 2's divide out, plus 4 divided by 2 is 2. The x squareds also divide out. The second group, before I factor the second group, always bring a sign down between the two groups. What could I divide 9x and 18 by? They could both be divided by 9. Both of those terms do not have the x, so I could only factor out the number. And then I get x plus 2. Again, the parentheses have the same thing inside. So that's going to be my common factor. X plus 2 I like to write first. And then when I look at in front of the parentheses, 2x squared and positive 9, those are going to be the terms in the second factor, 2x squared plus 9. So those are my factors, x plus 2 times 2x squared plus 9. Try the next two. Okay, you guys could keep looking back, pausing, playing, whatever you need to do to get this. Here, there's no numerical GCF. They both have a. The lower exponent's a squared. Then when I divide both by a squared, I get keep, subtract, just a. 3a squared divided by a squared, the a squareds cancel out, and I'm left with minus 3. Before I factor the second group, what am I going to do? Bring that sign down. And then what could I divide these both by? I could divide them both by 2. But because of that minus sign, I'm dividing both of the terms by a negative 2. That means the negative 2a divided by negative 2 gives me positive a. 6 divided by negative 2 is minus 3. Whenever you have this minus sign between the two groups, that's when this sign ends up switching also. It happens in the model example also. Whenever there's a minus sign here between the two groups, this sign is going to change in the parentheses also. And if you forget, it doesn't matter because you know that these two should be the same. So that would help you to know to go back and change it. So the 2 that I highlighted in green, a minus 3, I'm going to write once. Then I have the a squared minus 2 in front of the two parentheses. A squared minus 2 are the two terms in my second factor. Okay, next one. I'm going to factor out in the first group. They both have an x, the lower exponent squared. So x squared is out there first. Then I'm going to get x to the first plus the x squared's factored out, 5. What am I going to bring down between the two groups? The minus sign. What am I going to factor out here? 2 could go into both 2x and 10. However, because of that minus sign, I'm dividing both terms by negative 2. So the negative 2x divided by negative 2 is positive x, and negative 2 divided by negative 2 is plus 5. So again, this minus sign makes this sign change when we go down here. That way, the two parentheses have the exact same thing in it, which I'm going to write once, x plus 5, and then the terms in front of each parenthesis, x squared and minus 2, are the two terms in the other parenthesis. One more example, and then you guys could check the filled-in lesson on the drive, and there will be no note card for this because this is really just leading up to tomorrow's lesson, or maybe the day after that. It's not yet what you need to know alone. So when I factor this first group, the 2 and 5 have nothing other than 1, so there's going to be no numerical GCF. They both have a base of p, but the lower exponent's squared. So p squared is going to be what I factor out, and then I get 2p. Minus p squared's factor it out, 5. What do I bring down between the two groups? The minus sign, so I'm factoring a negative out of this next group. 4p and 10 could both be divided by 2. When I divide them by 2, though, I have that negative in front that we brought down. That's going to give me positive 2p, because 4p divided by negative 2 is positive 2p. Then I'm going to have positive 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. Again, I know whatever's going to be in the first parenthesis is going to be in the second parenthesis if I do it correct. If they're not the same, then I know I made a mistake. So 2p minus 5 is first, and then the two terms in front of the parentheses, p squared and minus 2, are going to go in the second parenthesis. So I hope you understand that. You could now try the next 5 examples before then going to the filled-in drive and checking them out, and then doing the homework on your own and turning in the homework.